realized that I would be feeling sorry for Donnie here.
Fridays in Kenosha just aren't the same without a legendary Union Park Tavern fish fry, voted best in Kenosha for 10 years running.
But why stop at Friday? UPT is dishing up delicious food 7 days a week, including a weekend brunch, because eggs and bacon wait for no one.
Live music? Union Park Tavern is the home of the best live entertainment with open mic nights, piano jams, karaoke, and top-notch bands.
And if you haven't checked out their beer garden, you're seriously missing out. So head on down to Union Park Tavern and cheers to a good time. Looking to buy or sell a home?
Contact Shannon Franklin of RE/MAX Elite.
With years of experience, Shannon offers personalized service to help you achieve your real estate goals.
Call Shannon at 262-960-5182 or visit shannonfranklin.remax.com to start your real estate journey today.
Shannon Franklin is your trusted partner in the real estate market.
Looking for unique handcrafted creations?
Aaron Hunzinger of AH Did It specializes in one-of-a-kind lighting, custom furniture, and get this, more.
Each piece is carefully crafted with care and imagination, ensuring no two are alike.
No project is too big or small.
For more, find Aaron on social media under AH Did It. Yes, that's all one word, AH Did It.
Where imagination meets craftsmanship.
On this episode of the Ktown Connects podcast, we talk with a true Kenosha legend, the man behind Happenings Magazine and so many of our great local events. He's been a huge part of our city's entertainment scene for almost 50 years. So let's hap to it and connect with the one and only Frank Carmichael. Cue that music.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Kenosha, and all across the world, whatever time it may be when you're tuning in to this great episode of the Ktown Connects podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Jason, and with me here is my friend and everybody's Mr. Donnie Stancato. How you doing there, Donnie?
I am doing splendid, Jason. Thanks for the great intro.
Oh, you know what? I'm bummed.
So you're not Downtown Donnie anymore?
No.
No? When did that go away?
When he moved a couple blocks away.
Okay. Bumper music, the intro. Who's that courtesy
I'm
of?
glad you asked. That's Dropping Daisies, local band.
I like it. Sounds good.
Yeah, they recorded that just for us, just for the theme
thought
song.
so.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And this just in, they're number one still on the charts.
And guess what? Always number one in all of our hearts. Thank you, Dropping Daisies.
Yay!
Speaking of, I was upset because I missed my cue on to crack the beer.
Well, there you
I was supposed to do it
go.
at the end of the song, and I didn't think of it, and now I'm...
Well, I mean, you're
I was
getting it done
waiting.
now.
I was waiting.
And wow, what is it? What are you drinking there, by the way, Jason?
Donnie, it's a delicious public brewing company, Reaches for Peaches, I'm drinking today.
Wow, you are reaching for that great public brewing beer. Wow, that looks delicious.
Hold on, let me get a sip of it
Yeah,
here.
please do.
Yummy. What are you drinking over there, Donnie?
Oh, I am drinking a public brewing company beer as well, the Southport Blonde. It is delicious, but not as delicious as the great food they have down there at Public Brewing Company.
The beer's not as delicious?
Well, it's both equally delicious, so get on down there in beautiful downtown Kenosha and try it all.
Check out their website at publiccraftbrewing.com.
Yes.
What about me?
Oh,
Frank, what are you drinking over there?
I'm drinking Festival Foods Purified Drinking Water.
Tasting pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, yes,
Festival
yeah.
knows what they're doing.
I heard they fill those bottles right in the tap right in the back of the room there.
Well, but I'm sure they go through some sort of filter at least.
Of
Please
course,
tell me
of
that.
course.
Yes.
City of Kenosha has great water.
Yes, they do.
I drink that water every day.
You realize that I probably have these micro pieces of plastic in my brain because I drink so much.
Oh,
of
yeah.
these ones, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Jason, where are we recording the show at today?
Oh, Donnie, I'm so glad you asked, because we are recording this at the Better Call Parise recording studio located in downtown Kenosha. So if you're going to need a lawyer, get one who knows Kenosha like the back of his briefcase. Frank Parise has been defending clients since 1985. Give him a call.
What is Frank's middle name? Do you know that?
No.
I think it's just Jay, isn't it?
John? Frank John Parise?
It's Paul.
Really?
Well, it should be. Wouldn't that be great? Better call Paul. Parise.
Better call Paul.
Drop the Frank.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
come on, seriously, Frank. You have to go all the way back to the 1900s, that very first decade, and Frank was the 8th most popular name.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's like 115 years ago.
That's it?
That's it.
Interesting.
So who are we talking to today, Don?
We are here with, I'm going to say it, icon, the legend, Frank Carmichael. And we are so interested to hear your story. I mean, Jason, I kind of know because I've worked with you for so long. Jason currently still works with you.
Yes.
But we want to know all the details. Your whole life story we want to know. We want to get it out to the people here.
Well, how long did you work with me?
17 years, Frank.
Wow.
I know, that's a long time.
It is.
That's a long
it really
time.
is, yeah.
So let's...
How long for you?
13 years, I think.
Oh,
Wow.
12 or 13.
13? So we got you for 4 more?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. We can start planning then, at least. Yes.
All right, Frank, so we're just going to kind of get to know you in this first segment.
But we already know each other.
That's true, but our listeners
We don't know everything.
That's
Okay.
true. We
All right.
don't.
Frank, tell us about your first movie-going experience you remember.
Old Yeller.
Yeah?
Yes.
Where was it?
It was at the Roosevelt Theater, and that's, I think, the first time I saw my dad cry.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Old Yeller,
Yeah.
huh? How old were you
Yeller.
then?
If I recall, the dog died.
Oh, yeah, they had to shoot
I
him.
think I was maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you cry too?
Well, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the dog dies. You have to.
So speaking of you seeing your dad crying at that movie, what was your family life like growing up?
What was it like?
Yeah. Good.
What parents do?
Somewhat idyllic. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood that was just overflowing with kids. Back then, in the 50s, early 60s, moms all were still home. They weren't working.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. It was just there was just so many kids in the neighborhood.
You're the oldest of 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the eldest.
Okay. And what was your dad? What'd your dad do for a living?
He worked for We Energies,
Oh.
but then at that point in time, it was Wisconsin Electric Power,
Oh, okay.
WEPCO.
Okay.
Yeah, WEPCO.
You grew up on the south side over there?
South Side, yes, 32nd Avenue and 78th Street.
Good area.
Still
over
have
there.
the house.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
When my
that's-
mom passed, I didn't want to let go of it, so I bought my brothers out of it.
Oh.
Okay. Well, you
Yes.
still live there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. No. It's a rental.
Okay. All right.
But it's nice when it turns. You know, when a new tenant comes in, it's kind of nice to go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
you-
transition and just kind of reminisce for a few minutes.
Yeah, even just probably driving by, checking up on it, you get some memories coming back to you. I mean,
Yeah, it was an idyllic childhood.
probably played some ball in the street over there.
Well, we had a sand lot that we used to play baseball at. I think Gordon Lumber owned the actual lot, but they didn't do anything with it. So we, as long as we cut the grass and everything, they let us use it for a ball field. That would be where St. Vinny is.
Okay, yeah.
Right
Oh,
there
yeah,
was a vacant lot.
Okay. So, when you were a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
An architect.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. What kind of inspired that?
I don't know.
It's just something you're like,
I honestly don't know.
Did you like to draw, like buildings
Yeah,
and stuff?
well, yeah. I mean, what little boy doesn't like to draw?
Yeah,
Pictures of buildings and houses. And
Okay, that's what your
Yeah.
focus was that you drew about.
so when I was young, I wanted to be an architect.
Wow.
Then as I got a little older, I wanted to be a priest.
Yeah, that was coming to our next question. Yeah, you actually attended a school for 3 years, is that correct?
Yes, St. Francis de Sales Seminary.
Okay.
how did this happen,
Actually,
Frank?
it was a little over 2.
Okay.
I went over to Tremper in junior year.
All right. How did you get into that? The St. Francis?
Well, I thought I had a vocation. I went to St. Mary's, and I was the unaltered boy, and I had I had a mentor. I had somebody that was an inspiration. His name was Father William Effinger.
Okay. But then you're going to this school. It's like 45 minutes away. Did you go?
You live there.
Yes. Did you live there on like?
When I was a freshman,
it was like a boarding
in high
school kind of thing then. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's in Milwaukee, on the south side of Milwaukee, and right there on the lake. I think it became the Cousins Center.
Okay.
And the major seminary was across the way. There was like a woods that you crossed over. So the first 6 years of your training would be at St. Francis de Sales Preparatory Seminary, and then the last 6 years you would have crossed over onto the other side.
Wow, so you're looking at 12 years of...
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what made you decide to didn't want to do that anymore?
It was decided for me.
Oh.
I flunked Latin.
Oh.
Oh.
Father Lukashevitz was my Latin professor, and it was, what an education you could get there.
Yeah, really?
Seriously, all the priests, most of them minimum masters, but most of your instructors had doctorates.
Wow, okay.
But he took me aside and said, Frank, you realize that if you somehow made it for another year, then you'll have to start Greek, and Greek is so much more difficult than Latin, but it's a more direct translation to the Bible.
Wow. So you're a Catholic school dropout, huh?
Yes, you could say that. Yeah.
Looking back, do you kind of regret that, or like? No, I guess not. It happened for a reason.
If you look at where the priesthood is today, I've stayed in contact with some of my former classmates, and it changed dramatically. With pedophilia and everything like that, all of a sudden, people look at certain priests and say, "Are they one of them?"
Yeah.
It's
been tarnished, definitely.
Right. Unfortunately, yes.
Do you ever sit back and think of how different your life could have been if you stayed that path?
Well, not really. Not all that much.
Yeah.
Because it's so far back. It really is. I have a different life now. I did wait till I was 45 years to get married, so I guess I could have gone back if the Latin wasn't that big of a deal anymore. Yes. I guess I kept my options open.
So you came back home for your junior year. That's
Yes.
11th grade. You started Tremper High School.
Yes, Tremper.
Did you still have a lot of your friends from your old days still around?
Most of them went to St. Joe's.
Oh, okay.
But they were neighborhood friends, yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
And there you did pretty well. You became the student body president.
No, I was the senior class president.
Senior class president. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
They're different.
Tom Schindler was the student council president.
But you were Mr. Tremper.
How did you find out that?
Oh, we found out.
I did a little, yes.
So you're Mr. Tremper.
Yes.
It was a tie vote, and then there was a vote taken at the door that you won. Is that how that worked?
Yes, it was. The whole school voted. And I think it was, was it Marty Johnson?
I believe that was the name.
Yeah.
Great guy.
I think so.
He should have won. He should have. But yes.
You made quite an impact for being your first year back from being gone. And
yeah, it's,
You're a very popular guy.
Oh, yeah, there were a lot of popular people in that class. There truly was.
Tell us about your first
great school.
Tell us about your first job.
First job, paper route.
Okay.
Then I worked in the office for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, we being myself and Kerry Poltrock, we would collect the money on the weekends. There was, I would say there was maybe 18,000 people that received the Sunday Milwaukee Journal back then.
And
the carriers,
total in the area? Or just Kenosha?
Just Kenosha.
Okay, yeah.
It was huge, the circulation for something like that, because back then the Kenosha News didn't even have a Sunday edition.
Oh, wow.
So the carriers would all come in on Sunday and pay their bills. So Carrie and I took care of that.
Okay.
Frank, can you tell me a little bit about this story? How you saved 3 lives as a newspaper
How did
boy?
you find that out? Jaretta Waymeyer was her name. I remember that, yes.
That's a pretty amazing story.
I was filling in for a morning delivery route, a motor route, and I went into this apartment building. There were like 2 or 3 people that received the morning paper, and I smelled gas, natural gas, kind of sniffed it down. I figured the door, started pounding on it. There was no answer. and pounded on the next door neighbor's door. Nobody answered there. So I ran across the way there, and this was on 60th Street by the fire department there.
Oh.
And I woke them, and they came over. And
60th Street?
60th Street, yes. There is, okay, you know where the fire station is?
On the west side?
Yeah, 60th.
Up by George's Club High, you up towards that way?
Right.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
They just built a new one
if
there.
you go directly west of the old fire department, there were apartment buildings. I think it was in those buildings.
Right behind the gas stations there, huh?
Exactly, yes.
Wow, okay. Huh.
So she apparently was attempting suicide, and so they said that this was like at 2 a.m. So it was good, because if that gas had gone unabated through the rest of the morning, so even like a spark or something could have ignited it all.
The entire building would have blown up, huh?
Could have, possibly.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Wow.
So I just did the route and went to school, and then my teacher says the principal wants to see you. So I went down, and Mr. Hosmanic said, "Well, Frank, I think you're going to be a hero."
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it was. They made it more than it really was.
Yeah, you just smelled gas. What else are you going to do?
But the Journal Sentinel, they wanted to make a bigger deal out of it.
Of course,
it was one of their employees.
Yeah, definitely.
But unbelievable that you found that.
Oh, we got a lot of dirt
found a
on
lot
you.
of good stuff on you.
Let's just cut through to this and go to the dirt. I got a feeling you have the dirt too.
So, Frank, while you're at Tremper, you hosted your very first of several radio shows. So tell us about the new voice.
Oh, Mrs. Fern Heft, yes. She was a sweetheart. I really liked Mrs. Heft. But we butted heads a little bit, because she had a vision for it. And I respect that, too, because, she was doing all this on her free time. She was a teacher there. And there were a lot of dedicated teachers at Tremper at the time, so for after-school activities and what have you. So New Voice, they would give us, I think, an hour on Saturdays. We would pre-record a show, and it would air on WLIP on Saturday mornings. But it wasn't, Mrs. Heft and I didn't see eye to eye on some things. Mm-hmm. So I decided, well, I'm going to see if I can get my own radio show. So there was the other station in town, Waxo, WAXO. And I noticed they had this big yard in the front, and it always looked terrible. It wasn't cut. So I just went over there with a lawnmower and cut the grass. And then there's this guy peering out the window, and the receptionist was summoned. She came and got me and brought me in. I went in there. His name was Daryl Gore. His on-air name was Larry Taylor. He was the station manager, and he said, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "Well, your grass looked terrible. I figured I'd cut it." So I did that a few times, and then I got to be friends with Gary Anderson, and back then you needed a third-class license to be on the air. So I studied up for it, went down to Chicago, took the FCC test, but didn't tell anybody. And then by then I had graduated. I had moved indoors. I was cleaning the station. Okay. And I went into Daryl's office to empty the wastebasket, and I said, "Daryl, you don't look too happy." And he said, "Well, I don't have anybody for overnight, New Year's Eve. And if I have to hold that shift down, my wife's going to absolutely kill me." And I said, "It's that bad?" He said, "Frank, it's so bad, if you had your license, I'd put you on the air."
Oh, and you did.
So my first time on the radio overnight was on December 31st, and that would have been 1969. I was a senior in high school.
Wow. So you were 17 doing this?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. And so you said this is where you met Gary Anderson.
Yeah, Gary was truly a great mentor of mine.
You two go on to start one of your first production companies.
Mark III Productions.
Right. Yes, Gary, myself, and Harry Dingfelder.
Okay. You're 18 years old. You're starting this company with these guys, huh?
Yes.
How'd that feel?
It was fun. It was it was a concert promotion company. And then Gary went on to bigger stations and left, and then Kerry Poltrock came into the picture. And then Harry Dingfelder, he went back to Michigan. He came from one of the Fetzer stations there. I got a big big job offer, so he left. So Mark III was just Frank and Carrie after that.
And you guys, I mean, some of your first gigs, you booked some dances, like St. Joe's Dance, correct? And you did
more so at Tremper.
Okay.
That was, my ties were there.
Mm-hmm.
So where exactly was the library? Is that in the White Building?
That's in the White Building.
Where Rocket Optical is?
No, it's
Okay.
the next building over where the karate is.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the
All
spot.
right.
That was,
Okay.
yes.
You and Glenn opened the library.
Carrie.
Gary, sorry, yeah, Gary opened the library in 1970.
Mm-hmm. It was their teen club.
A teen club. How did that work out?
It worked out fine until, we were bringing in bands, and much to the chagrin of the Elks Club across the alley there. And they didn't want us there. And we had a garage door so that, the vans could pull in with the equipment and what have you. I was booking bands, and we had a couple bands that would practice there. And then one day we went to open the garage door, and there was a cement post right in the middle of the. Yeah, that was their subtle way of saying
Get out.
we don't want you here.
Wow.
So what happened is there was the landlord of the building was a member of the Elks Club, and
That was it.
yeah, he was very apologetic, but said, "You know what? I can't renew your lease. I'm getting too much pressure. There's just
Politics.
But it was fun while it lasted, and we had some great bands that came through there. I remember the Ides of March when they played the library. Vehicle was in the top 10 on the charts.
Wow.
Yes.
This is where you established a lot of connections that you use later on, too, right?
Well, the connections were established earlier than that because when I was a senior in high school, I was doing a lot of the booking for back then, Tremper had bands almost every week, every Friday. There were dances.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of, as senior class president, I was tasked with doing a lot of that.
Wow.
So I developed a strong, close relationship with Beacon Artists in Chicago.
That helped you get the acts and stuff in? You got some big names then, huh?
Well, they had a lot of big names.
Yeah.
They were a pretty good size agency.
So you're 20 years old, Frank, and you buy the Roosevelt Theater. Is that correct?
Well, I initially leased it.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't buy it until the next year.
Until the next year. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I leased the business. I bought the business from Ted Witherell. He was at one point he was the coroner in Racine, and he owned Tubby's Lounge,
Oh, wow.
the strip club.
All right. All right.
Yeah, but so I leased it, and then maybe a year later, I purchased the building from William Bullimore. Bill Bullimore owned the property.
Okay.
So what made you want to get into a movie theater?
Well, I worked there briefly,
Okay.
and well, I don't know how to say this. I applied for the job because there was this attractive girl that would sit in the box office all the time.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, why not go apply for the job, and maybe I get to know her.
Yeah.
Makes
And
sense.
then the manager didn't think I was doing that good of a job. So we parted company. And then I bought it.
I love it.
Did you keep him on?
Oh, well, he didn't want to stay. he didn't want to stay. But he was a great guy. No, seriously, he was a great guy. But he had much greater things ahead of him than running the theater.
And then you put a lot of money into it, too. You kind of brought it back
for
up.
me it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
for
you
me, but yes.
refurbished the lobby. You kind of cleaned it up some. Got new seats and stuff inside.
True.
That's all expensive stuff.
Yeah, you kind of had like a three-step kind of program that you were putting into.
Better than the 12-step program.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were kind of doing it slowly,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I was. But it was all second-run product. Back then, it was, for the most part, it was second-run product, and I needed to go first run if I was going to make any money.
Okay.
So that's why I started making the improvements.
So-
And then I got myself a booker, somebody to represent me that would deal with the film companies.
Okay.
And your thing was you wanted to be kind of a family-friendly theater.
I just wanted to make money, Donnie.
Okay.
I mean, family friendly. I think Bill Exton, he owned that or operated. He never owned the property, but he leased it for many years. And Bill was a good man, truly a good man, a true asset to the community. And then when he exited, that's when Ted Witherell came in for a few years. Right. So I decided that I would try and wrestle away films from the Lake Theater.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in the Cinema 1 and 2.
Because if our listeners don't know, you the second run, you call that?
Right.
That is, the movies have been out for a few months. They've already made their money at the big theaters. Then
Yes.
Roosevelt would get them then. And you want to get that level up to the first run. Get them when they first come out. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I got lucky with Jaws.
You got first run.
Yes.
Or you got the day after it played, right? Or the first day?
No,
first
we
release?
opened it fresh.
Wow.
I can't remember. I think maybe in order to get it, I offered them $30,000 guarantee.
Wow.
Against 90-10. The way that works is, let's say the film did $30,000 the first week. They get 90% of it.
Okay.
They get $27,000, which they'll just subtract from the $30,000 they already have of your money.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So you're already kind of prepaying them kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, but before this,
this is this is their way of knowing you really want this movie.
Right, yeah.
And truthfully, if they knew how big the film was going to be, they would have tried to get even more advance guarantee. But that was a lot of those films. You had to give a guarantee up front.
Okay.
You sent them a certified check in advance.
Did you just have a feeling about this one?
My booker did.
Okay.
I can't take credit for it. But I was way off when Star Wars came out. I remember the first night we got the trailer. This is before it opened. And my brother Kurt was working at the theater. And I said, Kurt, I want you to look at this trailer. I put a lot of money down for this movie. Let me know what you think. And he went in and watched the trailer and he came out. And he said, how much did you give him? And he said, you're screwed. He didn't think it was going to do anything. Yeah, it was a very, very big film for me.
What did you think?
I didn't see it. I really didn't. I was amazed by it.
But earlier than that, you had some of your first bookings with the bigger celebrities. In 1973, you had Frank Sinatra Jr. and Mickey Rooney both come to Kenosha, to the Roosevelt Theater. So you were kind of doing the live thing along with the movies.
Yes,
a lot of theaters were doing it at the time.
Sinatra, that one will always be forefront in my memory because he was higher than a kite. His eyes were so glassed over. They kind of put him in a spot, and before the curtains went up. He was supposed to do a second show, and I was in the office. One of the ushers came to me and said that, he said, the show's over with. And I says, it can't be over. It just started a half hour ago. I went backstage, and all the musicians are picking up their music stands and everything. And it's like, well, what's going on here? And I had to go out there and tell the people that was it.
Oh, sorry, folks.
Go to the box office and we'll give you a refund.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. Ugh. He wasn't all there.
Wow.
Oh, that's a shame.
Now, Mickey Rooney what a showman he was. My Lord. I think his wife at the time, her name was Jan. I can't remember her last name, her stage name, but they were barnstorming with, I think, about a 15-piece band.
Wow.
And they had this 12-year-old sensation, this little girl, a tiny little girl, but what a voice that came out of there.
Oh, neat.
So, but I was introduced to him, and have you ever said something where you just blurt out what's in your head, but then you say, "Oh crap, why did I say that?"
All the time.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Oh.
Yeah. When I met him, they introduced me. I said to him, boy, you're even smaller in person.
Oh, Frank. Oh, boy. You haven't booked them since.
No.
Well, I guess both those had kind of a poor turnout, though. You have kind of trouble getting people to come to those.
Oh, it wasn't easy. No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. You never know. When you put on a show, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, I had a similar situation with Aaron Carter.
Oh, yes.
That was
Yes.
more recently, yeah.
Yeah, he did a 23-minute show.
And then he tried. Then
he was higher than a kite.
I wanted to ask you about that later in the show, but I'll ask you now. Remember that big ordeal when he was like, "I'm going to sue that old man promoter."
That's right.
Going all over Twitter.
I've got over 500,000 followers. And, he was trashing me.
Yeah, I remember when I came to work the next day. Reanna and I had it like printed out. Like, Frank, did you see this? He's blasting you on Twitter. He's at the Kenosha jail saying he's going to file a lawsuit and all that. It was so funny. It was so stupid.
Once again, the usher said, I think the show's over with. And I said, it can't be. He's only been up there 20 minutes. So I went back there, and he had somebody traveling with him that was supposed to just keep him clean, but was doing a poor job.
Yeah, I guess.
And I waited, and finally I got in the dressing room, and I said, What are you doing? You got to get back out there. You can't do this to your fans. And he says, my fans love me. And I said, well, I don't think they love you that much. You got to get back out there. And at that point, I didn't realize he had already repeated songs in that 23 minutes.
Wow.
It escalated, and then he says, because I sent him 50% deposit, and then he gets the other half, after he completes it.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not paying you anything more unless you get out there.
Right.
And he said, you'll hear from my lawyer. And I says, yeah, Aaron, your bankruptcy lawyer.
Oh, nice, Frank. Good.
That struck a chord with him. Oh, was he? Thought he was going to come at me.
Because what are you supposed to do? A meet and greet after, too?
Well,
and
yes.
he ditched out on?
Well, then he took the meet and greet outside, and I think it was February or something.
Perfect sense.
What? I do remember we talked about it on the radio, on the air. And I said, sadly, I think, I'm that old man promoter, but sadly, I think I'll outlive him just because of his lifestyle. You can't do those drugs and live forever.
Were you always a clean cut? Did you ever
Yeah, I pretty much was, yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I liked my vodka when I was younger, but no, I'm pretty much a guy in moderation. You know that.
Well. All right, so Frank, also in this 1972, that's when you took a lease on the Capitol Theater in Racine?
That's right. That one I purchased the business from Ted Witherill, and then proceeded to buy the building from Lowell McNeil, who was a mentor. It turned out to be kind of a mentor friend of mine. He owned the building. He had owned the bank on the corner. It was called West Racine Bank. And then he sold out to First Wisconsin and was a big shareholder in First Wisconsin, and became kind of my private banker.
Wow! Okay.
For some things,
nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just a classy guy.
This is the same year you opened Roosevelt, though, correct?
No. The Capitol came a year or two after the Roosevelt.
Okay. Was it okay?
So the Roosevelt was that 72 or 71?
72, age 20. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So then you kind of saw money in the theater business. That's why you're like, I'm going to try to get this other one in Racine. It was kind of hopping back then, so to speak.
The opportunity came up. I mean, Ted Witherill was in trouble. In fact, when I wrote the check to Ted, the IRS was there to grab it. So he was in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he was very grateful.
Well, I don't know about that, but.
So while you had these movie theaters, I'm sure you had to get some promotions to kind of get people in the seats. What kind of interesting, weird promotions do you remember?
Well, let's see. There was Dish Night.
You guys had a Dish Night?
No.
I thought that was just in the 40s.
No, Dish Night was in the 30s during the Depression.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to remember. I should have an idea on how we promoted. I know at the Roosevelt we used to do kid shows on the weekends.
Okay, yeah, I remember those.
And my brother would dress up as Bojangles the Clown.
Bojangles the Clown.
Yeah, so we'd give away bikes and have drawings and little contests on stage. And we worked that thing up to where we were doing 2 matinees on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and filling it.
Wow.
That's what gave me the money to rehab the theater.
Wow.
Yeah, we were doing.
Roosevelt was a really beautiful theater. It had a whole balcony and everything there.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was a beautiful
Okay,
theater.
yeah, I guess it wasn't a grand palace, but it was
no. But it was you know what it was? It was a cute 900-seat theater.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Wow. Is that small, huh? I thought it was...
no.
I guess I was young. I thought it looked bigger then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Frank, I heard a funny story today. I was talking to Tina from the Letter Machine today, and she would go to the Saturday kids movies, and she got dropped off there, and she won a prize. And I guess maybe you went up and you gave it to her, and she said she'll always remember that day because she won a prize, and you gave her a kiss on the cheek.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. She said she'll never forget that.
You know what? I couldn't have done that today.
No.
You know that? Those were different times.
Yeah.
She said she always loved going to the theater.
You know, the gals over at the Coffee Pot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Julie was just a cute little girl when she went there. She was, she couldn't have been more than 6.
You've
Just
seen
a
all
cute
these people
little
grow
sweetheart.
up, you know.
Dale Wamble used to come all the time.
Oh, your biggest fan.
What did I do? I wonder what I... Yes.
Dr. D.
Yeah. Why do you say my biggest fan? I don't think so.
Frank, I mean, I've told you this story before. I remember one year, I don't know, 15 years ago, whenever one of the first 2 Celebrate Americas, we were setting up and Dale was driving by, we're hammering something down, he comes by, fuck you, Frank Carmichael, as he drives away.
Yeah.
He's just he's your number one fan for some reason.
Yes.
But you used to book him at the Roosevelt Theater for stuff, didn't you?
I don't remember. I don't think when he was going to the theater, he was just a little neighbor kid.
Oh, okay.
But he was a nice kid. He really was. So I don't know. One of these days I want to reach out to Dale and just see if I can mend ties, because I just feel bad. I'd like to, if I did something, I'd like to try and make amends or undo it. So what did he say?
Look, you bring on.
Well,
we both were just looking at him like, what was that?
well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was like the first or second Celebrate America.
So I think the statute of limitations has run.
Yeah.
I have no bone to pick with him. Not at all.
So one of the promotions you offered back then was a money-back guarantee for some films.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
how did you do that?
Walking Tall. Don Burmeister was his name. There was this film that had absolutely bombed. And this brilliant marketing guy took this film with Joe Don Baker, and what he did is he nurtured it. Okay, it had been released, bombed, then it's forgotten, basically. He took this picture, went from market to market, and four-wall, did a lot of four-walling, which is you go in and you rent the theater. Okay? So you would go into a market. Let's say he goes into Chicago. That's a bigger market. He started with smaller markets. And you would just blitz the airwaves with TV commercials. All right? And they changed up the ad campaign. What they did is they put shills in the audience. So at the end of the movie, they stand up and they start applauding.
Oh.
And then it was, you got to go see the movie that people that are people giving it a standing ovation, that kind of thing. People, why is everybody applauding Joe Don Baker? Or Buford Pusser was the name, was the character name, and the thing just took off.
Wow.
Yeah, he repackaged it.
Okay. But you started doing this money-back guarantee thing on several different movies, actually.
Well, no, not that many, but
some.
I did it for. Okay, let's see. Rocky came out. I didn't have Rocky, but then there was a subsequent film with Sylvester Stallone, a follow-up called Fist.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So it's Rocky Balboa in a different role. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's loosely based on Jimmy Hoffa. Okay. And I figured this can't go wrong. So I put a lot of money up on that film, advance guarantee, no refund, and absolutely died. So then what I did is I right away the next week put this together where, this film is exceptional, and if you don't, come and see it, and if you don't believe what I'm saying, I'll give you your money back. money-back guarantee.
Yeah.
And normally a film will drop 50% the second week. But that's really scary because it did hardly anything the first
Right.
week. So what happened is it didn't drop 50%. It went up 50%.
Oh.
And the film company, somebody out in L.A. was looking at the numbers on Monday, and it's like, follow up, check and see why, they reported the wrong number.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then-
This isn't right.
yeah. So
Wow.
Interesting.
when they connected with me, they
Did you get many people complain and say, "Hey, I want my money back"?
No, it was a good movie. It was a good movie. This was a labor town.
But even some people would just do it just to scam. I
Well,
want to see you get a free movie out of you.
You know what? People aren't really like that.
Yeah, good.
They're really good. Good people. But so the film company said, well, they started asking me all these questions. Can you send the ads? We want to.
Awesome.
Then they used it in other markets.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's clever.
Yeah.
Well,
So
always
I
promoting.
just wrote a letter. It was a letter, and I signed it, and I said, I truly, that I think this film is worth you seeing, and if you
Could they read your handwriting?
Well, it wasn't really my handwriting, but it looked like it might be.
Okay.
Somebody else wrote it. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But I've used that with a comedian at the Kenosha Comedy Club.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Chris Barnes.
Okay. Money back
Never-
guarantee.
Yeah, nobody ever asked for their money back.
Nice,
He's
nice.
that good.
Hey.
So.
Wonderful. All right, then in 1979, you decided to get a third location for a theater.
Oh, yeah.
Market Square Theater.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How was that different than any of the other locations? And why a third location,
Well,
Frank?
that location I didn't own.
Okay.
I didn't own the real estate. Marie Maurer was developing it. It was the old Tops discount department store. And she was making a mini mall out of it. And we entered into an agreement where I would go into a lease, and then the build-out would be shared with her 50-50.
Oh,
And there was a lot of work that had to be done. I mean, to slope the floors, we had to excavate pretty deep. And, there's the pilings, we had to shore up the roof.
Mm-hmm.
They had to put, I don't know what you call it, trestle it to carry the roof
Oh, wow.
while they're digging down and then pouring new footings and new pads.
Because you're building a
of the
theater
slope.
from scratch. Your previous
Yes,
ones, you were
right.
taking a
Right.
already
Yeah.
established theater, yeah.
Yes, and because it was just a flat floor.
Mm-hmm.
But we were going below the footings with the slope because the auditoriums were considered pretty big.
Yeah.
We had to have a decent slope, so it was extensive work. We had state construction, Donnie Farr, for the project, and Marie and I were splitting, the build out 50-50. But she ran out of money.
yeah.
Market
So-
Square was a great little location
Yeah.
there with the movie theater, the arcade, all that
arcade.
stuff in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So
that was wonderful.
I got a call one day from Donnie Farr, and he said, I need my money. And I said, well, I've been giving you my money. He said, no, I need Marie's money.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we ended up paying for her half.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But you had a nice run there.
Right, but she lost it. She lost it in foreclosure. Then I had to deal with new owners.
Because you sold that by 84, was it?
No, I don't think so. I think it was much
Well,
later
84
than
you
that.
sold Roosevelt Theater.
Yes. I think I sold that in 89
Okay.
or 88, something like that, yes. But it was around the same time I sold the Capitol to Marcus.
Okay.
That was interesting.
You got out just in time then, huh?
No, you know what? I should have held on longer.
You think so? Okay.
Well, I thought, I looked in these bigger markets, and then maybe not such big markets where the big multiplexes were coming.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could stay in that game.
Right.
I mean, Tinseltown was probably a $15 million project. I'm not going to be able to do that. So,
Yeah.
my dad always said, don't get greedy. Sell while there's still something in it for the next person. Or else you might, if you wait too long, you might get left holding the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, I sold too early on Market Square. I should have. I could have had a longer run with that, but that's just the way it works.
Yeah. But during this time, you also bought the Kenosha Theater building, which stands on the 5900 block of 6th Avenue. It's
Yeah.
still
When-
there.
When did I buy that?
I'm not sure when, but you sold it in 83.
Yeah, well, wasn't it 82?
Well, maybe.
Yeah, because I remember when I sold it, I think interest rates were at 22%.
Why did you purchase that to begin with?
I was going to restore it.
Okay.
I wanted to have a legitimate theater.
Okay.
But then things went bad. I mean, the interest rates were so high. I mean, inflation was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And my accountant at the time said, "You realize that this, you're going to be paying too much for the money. You're never going to be able to pull it off."
It's a bad buy then, huh?
Yes, yes, it was.
It was out of operation 63-ish or so around then. It closed down.
Right. When I purchased it, the auditorium was storage for LeBlanc.
Okay.
And it had 16 apartments. And the 2 storefronts, the apartments were all rented and the storefronts were rented.
Oh, wow.
It was cash flow.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's positive cash flow. But then I realized, I mean, that was a dark time in the economy. And there's no way I'm going to take on a project like that and pay 21%. You can't make money on it.
Yeah.
It was time to move on.
And then you sold it to current owner, Jeff Boss still owns it, right?
Yeah,
I know. That's hard to believe.
Yeah,
that's like, what, almost 50 years? Over 50 years ago. Yeah, he bought it, and then he was going to restore it.
Yeah, it's still sitting
he's still
there.
working on it. I mean, like, it was him and his family, or there was Lou Regani was part of it?
No, Lou wasn't part of it.
That kind of fell through his group or whatever it was?
It was Jeff Boss and his brother and his dad.
Okay.
Yes.
And he's still working on getting it open or fixing it up. So hopefully, maybe one day
I hope
it
so.
will.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would. It really would.
But now the cost to restore
is
it
probably through the roof.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, the last 50 years, there's been significant damage. The plaster's all gone. Back then, it was watertight.
Do you remember the last time you were in there? Have you got a tour since you sold it? Or
6-7 years ago,
Oh, okay.
I popped in there. Jeff showed me around.
Can he even rent those storefronts out anymore?
Why is there?
No, I mean, I wonder.
rats or something,
No, I
or-
mean, he should. He should rent them out.
Well, you should have a store,
A studio.
storefront
We should
studio.
move a
Yes.
studio.
Yeah, there you
like
go.
that. I like that.
Then people can assemble on the sidewalk and watch you do your thing.
Yeah,
There you
like
go.
WGN
Yeah.
radio. I like that.
Well, we take $50 a month.
Well, I like this studio. I think this turned out really nice.
Yeah, not
I
a
really,
bad little
I like
spot,
it.
huh?
I really like it.
Thank you, Frank Parise, for paying our rent.
Yeah, Frank's a great guy.
He really is. He really is.
Great criminal defense attorney, too.
All right, so I think it's time we take our first break, and then we'll be right back to talk more about the Happenings magazine. We haven't even got to that part yet.
Oh boy, that's the best part,
I
right?
know. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So we'll be
I
right
don't know
back.
about that.
Right back after this break. Come hungry to Frank's Diner and enjoy some of Kenosha's best food.
From their iconic garbage plate to mouth-watering Bloody Marys.
Frank serves up delicious breakfasts and lunches every day.
Grab the meal of your lifetime at 508 58th Street and check out franksdinerkenosha.com.
And don't forget, order what you want, eat what you get.
About Time Moving System. It's about time moving was easy.
Wow, local or long distance, big or small, Quinn and his experienced team have got you covered.
Make the move today by calling Quinn at 262-222-2624 or visit abouttimemoving.com today. Get a move on!
5 stars. Honor your loved ones with dignity by choosing Casey Family Options, funerals and cremations in your time of need.
For over 50 years, Casey Family Options Funerals and Cremations has been your caring neighbors, offering personalized funeral and cremation services.
Steve's experienced team is here to guide you through every step with compassion and respect.
Visit them at 3016 75th Street or call 262-653-0667.
Learn more at CaseyFamilyOptions.com. Well, hey there, listeners. You want to hear this episode without all those pesky commercials? Well, then head on over to ktownconnects.com to become a Patreon supporter. Click on that Patreon link right there, because being a supporter gets you this episode early, ad-free, and with bonus material. Subscriptions start at just $2 a month.
Just $2 a month, Jason? That's
Right,
unbelievable.
Donnie. Visit ktownconnects.com and click on that link.
This episode is brought to you by our Patreon subscriber of the week. Yes, it's Jeanette Hill.
Oh,
yes,
Jeanette.
that Jeanette Hill.
All right.
Thank you, Jeanette, and all of our wonderful Patreon subscribers. All
right, Donnie.
Let's get back to this conversation with Frank Carmichael of Happenings Magazine. Yes, Frank. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Maybe this is proprietary. How many Patreon sponsors do you have?
We have a 35?
Yeah,
35?
30, 35.
Somewhere
So are you
around
going to
there.
have a Patreon-a-thon?
Yes.
You should have one. Yeah. Yes.
We should.
Well, we invited them to be on the parade with us. A couple of them came out for that.
Yeah,
Well,
we were in the
that's
St.
good.
Patrick's Day
That's-
parade. A
yeah,
couple of them came
That's a
out
good
with
idea.
us.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but given the longevity of the show and the popularity of it, I think with a little tweaking, you could probably get quite a few more.
Well, once they see you're on the show, we're going to get a
Oh,
lot
stop
more
it.
subscribers, Frank.
You are, forget Patreon, you're just patron.
Patronizing.
Yes.
All right, Frank. So 1977. Let's go back in time. You launched Happenings Magazine.
Yes, I did.
How did this all happen? Tell us the story.
Okay, so the Capitol Theater at that point, I was intrigued with the theater, Oriental Theater up in Milwaukee, that was doing some eclectic programming there. And they had a split format. They wouldn't go the entire week with films. They would change it out. Maybe three days with one, 4 days with another. Sometimes maybe even going 2, 3, and 2.
Wow.
And so I needed some sort of an in-depth program to explain to people what these films were, because a lot of them were eclectic and obscure. And I'll never forget, because some of those very first movies, people would come out. I remember this one guy, burly guy, comes out and says, "You're not expecting me to read this whole movie," and it was subtitles. Yeah. So I knew we needed to market it, to merchandise or market the program, the lineup. So I came up with Happenings, and
So you had
the
other
publication outlasted the format.
Yeah. So you had you gave it this title, Happenings. That's more of a general title. You didn't call it the Capital Times.
No. I think maybe if I should look back, maybe the first issue was Film Happenings or something.
Okay.
All I know is that it didn't take long for me to realize that Racine wasn't going to embrace foreign films and things of that sort.
Yeah.
But we had a little interest in the advertising in the book, so I figured, well, I'll keep that for a while and see how that goes.
Okay.
And that's how it started. So Happenings actually started first in Racine.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, yes.
How big was your first issue?
Oh, I think it was just 16 or 20 pages, because all we needed was something to promote the next 6 or 8 weeks of film.
Okay.
We were doing some little snippets and some profiles and things of that sort.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Did you have any advertisers on for your book?
Yes.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
already kind of started doing that right off the bat,
Well,
huh?
so we realized, maybe we can actually get more advertisers and screw the split format,
Okay.
the art product.
So you're kind of progressing from a theater owner to a magazine publisher. Was that something that you envisioned at all? Was that
Not really.
just kind of
No.
came around, huh?
Yes.
But was born out of the other kind of thing.
Right. It was. Yeah. I mean, it was it was something that I tried that didn't work out, and kind of evolved into the Happenings.
One of your first big events you did was after Happenings was in 1983. We brought in Family Fest.
Family Fest.
That's when you had Buddy Rich perform. And you brought Al Molinaro back to town,
Yes.
and that was one of these events that was kind of a precursor to Celebrate America. So while you're doing these events and things like that throughout Kenosha, how was your relationship with the city involved?
It was good. It was good. I mean, let's see, who was Mayor Bellotti was in office when we did the very first Family Fest, and then we did a subsequent one, and then Pat Moran was the mayor. Pat was easy to work with. I got the mayor to rename Simmons Island Gilligan's Island, and we brought in Bob Denver.
Gilligan himself,
for the weekend.
89,
yes.
you did that, right?
Yeah, we got a lot of mileage out of that with the Chicago media.
Yeah, I've seen some photos. He's signing autographs for people.
Oh, he was my little buddy that weekend.
There was, and he had a couple other celebrities in for that one as well.
We had Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer.
Also, Chicago radio.
Yes, they were on Sunday. They were Sunday at like 5 or 7 at night. It was a miserable weekend. I mean, I lost so much money with that show.
Why is that?
Weekend? Weather turned bad on Saturday. Friday was beautiful. We had, let's see, who did we have? Who was it from Styx?
Yeah, the drummer
DeYoung?
or something?
We had Dennis DeYoung.
Yep.
He did a show. We had, what was his name? He was big on the Loop, broadcaster. He also had a show that he would bring
Kevin
up.
Matthews?
Yes, Kevin Matthews, yes. And that first night went off wonderful, big crowd and everything. And then Saturday, I think I looked back a few years ago, and it still was holding the record as the coldest August day.
Oh, wow.
On that day.
Yeah.
It was cold. It was rainy. I remember Mitch Ryder was performing, and he was in this skimpy little T-shirt that was cut off, and I said, I'll give you a sweatshirt or something. It's cold. And he said, I'm no pussy. He went up there, and rumor has it he got real sick after that. Yes. But I'll never forget, because Jim McFall and Phyllis from First National Bank they were running my money room, assembling all the money and everything, because I think the way we were doing it back then is all the vendors were taking tickets. We were selling the tickets, so we had all that cash coming in for all the food vendors and everything.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, because Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer, it was a $10,000 booking.
Oof.
We sent him $5,000 in advance, and then the $5,000, the balance, he gets paid. And I'll never forget, and I had done some things with Steve Dahl prior to this, so I was kind of taken a little back. But then he said, "Well, Frank, we got to get our money before we go on stage." And I do remember, and I said, Steve, you're going to get paid. Let me just figure out. I've been juggling all this other stuff but when they went on stage, all of a sudden, the clouds parted, the sun came out. Just like right on cue. So after the show, he said, well, maybe you should have booked us the first part of the day.
Of course.
But I'll remember, we had these bag phones back then, and Jim and Phyllis were sequestered up in, the beach house. There's a little room upstairs on the second floor, and that's where they were processing all the money and everything. And I remember calling him on the bag phone saying, you got to bring over $5,000. I got to pay Steve today. And he said, I don't even know if we have $5,000 because we've been paying out all the acts as the other half. And I said, well, just whatever, figure it out. So he came up on a golf cart, and it had this big, massive bag. And I said, it's only $5,000. He says, yeah, but a lot of his coin. Steve Dahl at that point was a little on the pudgy side, but he weighed a lot more when he was walking out with that money. Yeah, I'll never forget that. And after that, there was occasion where we crossed paths, and he always remembered me for that. He had a nickname for me.
What was that?
I can't remember. Jingle or something. Jingles? I don't remember. But, yeah.
Jingles.
Yeah.
Jingles. Just bring that one back, huh?
Yeah, I like that. Jingles.
I think Steve Dahl does this, doesn't he? Isn't he podcasting like you guys do?
We don't listen to any other podcasts besides our own.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
Just like you only listen to your own radio show, right?
I listen to a lot of things. You know
yeah,
that.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of radio, Frank, you in the early '80s, you were doing late '80s. You were doing stuff with WLIP, a movie review kind of show.
Yeah, did that with Paul Kern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started up at with that afternoon show, Saturday afternoon.
Did you use it then as a way to promote Happenings magazine as well?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, they reached out to me, asked me if I wanted to do it, and it sounded like it'd be a fun thing to do, so I just did it.
So then, like in the 80s and early 90s, Happenings magazine is rocking and rolling, right? I mean, you got a nice full staff, you got a thick magazine, you're interviewing these actors.
Back in the day when print reigned supreme.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, kind of walk us through this process of interviewing these actors that you have on the cover and stuff
all
like
right.
that.
So when I launched Happenings, Mike Schumacher was my editor initially. And I'm sure you've had
The
Mike.
local author?
Yes.
Okay. We haven't had him on yet, but yeah.
Oh, you haven't ever had Mike on?
No.
I got to call him. He's you would like. He'd be a great interview.
Okay.
Yes. He's
We see him a lot of time down at Frank Steiner. He's down there.
And so he was with me for a short period of time, and then David McGrath entered the picture. And Dave and I, we go way back to the days of WRKR in Racine.
Oh.
We were friends way back from then. So he stepped in and became our editor. Back then, every interview, every cover was somebody that he interviewed.
Wow.
We weren't buying
That
it
is
from a
amazing.
service, yeah. And somebody once asked me, why did you have Oprah on the cover 3 times in 1 year? And that's because Oprah was nice enough to tell Dave, if you get in a bind and you don't have a cover that week, call me and I'll do an interview for you.
That is awesome.
Isn't that nice?
Wow.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Wow.
So Dave was with us for quite a long time. It was a long, long spell.
So when did more of the events start happening and start doing more of these events? Peanut butter and jam, Tuesday at the Shell.
Peanut butter and jam, I'm trying to remember who was the mayor at that time.
Is it Bosman? 2001?
No, Bosman. It was Peanut Butter and Jam is 20. Well, it must have been.
2001 was a...
Well, Mayor Bosman was responsible for Celebrate America.
Okay.
That was, he reached out to me and said, people come down for the fireworks, and they'll come down in the morning or afternoon. They stake out their spot, and they throw a Frisbee to each other for 20 minutes, and now what do we do for the next, 8 hours or whatever?
Yeah.
And he asked me if I could put something on, but PB&J was right before that. PB&J was when John Antaramian was mayor.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that came to play with him. And I was on the bid, downtown bid at that point in time, and Penny Haney was in Mayor Antaramian's office, and she came and pitched the downtown bid on being a sponsor of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever the reason, I think bid was just so immersed in other projects. There was, that was a tough time. And so there was not much interest. So the next day I reached out to Penny and I said, Penny, if you want, we'll come in. We'll write some checks and help with it. And that's how it started.
Okay, so were you involved in the music booking and all that?
Well, she ceded that to us.
Okay.
Yeah, we took care of it. And the first PB&J, the first year or two, it was just a lunchtime show.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then I told Penny, I said, Penny, we have such a limited audience. If we take this at night, we'll get, more people will be able to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it evolved into that. But Penny was the the visionary that did this. And it, thanks to Mayor Antaramian, he gave his blessings and was involved in the launch of it.
It's a huge success.
It just struck me the other day because how PB&J is it 22 years? What do you?
Well, 2001. It's to be 24 years counting COVID.
Yeah, 24. Yeah, I guess it'd be 23. Because COVID knocked us out. Yeah. I look at our audience, and it is unbelievable. It's year after year, people come back, and I know exactly where they sit and everything, But it's like we all grew old together.
But then you see some of the younger people sprinkled in the audience as well. It's an always growing audience.
Yes.
Thursday nights it's packed down there.
Yeah.
Especially the weather's good. Oh man, it is jam packed. People come down there no matter who's playing.
But when you go back 23 years ago, there wasn't a lot. We really, really live in a hotbed of entertainment now.
Yeah.
I think that Taste of Wisconsin is our most iconic event.
Mm-hmm. It's organized so well, just with the 4 stages going at once and everything.
Yeah,
the circle.
It is just most impressive. The Kiwanis, they knocked it out of the park with that one.
But
Okay.
Frank, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so Frank, I mean, a lot of your things you're involved with is ways you can make money, of course. But you're not always about that. Tell us how you got involved with Safe Harbor, the Humane Society.
Kim was doing volunteer work, and I'm trying to remember now. I want to get this right because I don't, I'm married to Kim, and I think she volunteered for the board, and I said, well, one of her board meetings, and I said, well, maybe I'll come along. At the time, Jeff Warnock was the president, and he asked me if I would join the board, so both of us were on.
Okay. So is this, would you already know Kim, or is this like the movie theater girl story again?
Movie? No. That was... No, by then...
You weren't just going there to try and be with Kim then? No.
We were... I'm trying to... I can't remember what year. I was on the board for 18 years. I'd have to do the back math. I can't...
Okay.
No, we were dating. We dated for 8 years.
Okay. Well, you were president for a while for the board.
Yes.
Quite a few of those years.
Yes, many years.
You helped develop the Wolfstock Festival.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about
And
that.
you had all those dogs downtown. And all
It's
the
funny you should
businesses.
say that because that came up in conversation today
Oh,
on
really?
Happenings Q&A. We have 4 dogs in the building. Down in
down in the basement, in the room where all the internet
Yeah.
stuff's connected.
It was a
right?
fundraiser that we did with the downtown, and we got these plaster casts of different dog breeds, and then businesses adopted one, and then commissioned some artists to finish it out and make it unique. And I think we had 55 dogs on display in the downtown area. We did that 2 years.
That's a brilliant
Yeah.
idea. That was.
But yeah, Wolfstock. Yeah, we did that for a couple of years down where PB&J is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun.
I remember we had do you remember? No, you're too young. Maybe. Do you remember the Crying Shames? That's before your time.
I'm not sure.
They were a Chicago band. They were really good. They did back then in the late '60s. There were so many bands that hit the national charts coming out of Chicago, and that was because of WLS and WCFL were two dominant top 40 stations.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got into their rotation, you could have a national hit. There were the Buckinghams, the Crying Shames, the American Breed, New Colony 6. There was the Mauds. There were so many acts.
Wow. Well, speaking of radio, this is about the time that you got involved with Happenings Q&A. You launched that.
Yeah, that was 17 years ago. That I know.
Okay.
That I know.
17 years. That's
I know.
insane.
What was your goal with this new show that you were developing?
I really didn't want to. I wasn't really up for doing it.
Oh.
The station had reached out and said, would you be interested in doing a show? And I kind of... Well, you remember like when you asked me to come on your show?
Yeah. For 5 years.
It took a few years.
I kind of stalled, and then I talked to Kim about it, and I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, okay? And Kim says, well, you do realize if you do a show like this, I'm sure you'll get doctors to come on, and then you can get all sorts of free advice.
Sold.
That was it. Yeah. I had a podiatrist on, Dr. Cernick, last week, and the shoe and the sock came off so she could check my foot out. Yeah.
Give you a little promotion for her.
Yeah.
We
So
need to do that a little more with our guests.
Yeah, I like that.
But WLIP was so gracious. I mean, at that point in time, they were still here in Kenosha. They were on Green Bay Road. But even that, I mean, if you're doing a show 5 days a week, if you got to drive there, then you drive back,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And they came back and said, well, what if we set up a studio in your building? Would you do it then? And that's when that was the deciding factor.
And you've always been there, huh?
Always, yeah. I've never done the show from well, on occasion we'll do a show down in Gurnee
Yeah.
for Toys for Tots or something
Special
like that.
events, but
Yes.
regularly you have a
But
special room.
Jason, I mean, it's what?
But our listeners don't know. You have your own special room in your
Yes.
office building. There.
Right, yes.
That the old American Brass building that you bought in
Yes.
around 2000 or so.
Boy, you
2002.
guys, I'm
2002.
impressed. I'm impressed.
Maybe
you really did your
we'll give you
homework.
these notes after you.
But you have your own studio there that patches through the radio station, which is kind of neat.
Yes, and the technology has evolved over the years. When it first started, there's that little box. It's still sitting around. It was like $8,000.
Wow.
But and then we had parallel T1 lines, and now
it's just
over the
wireless.
internet or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's just technology is unbelievable.
So how do you keep going? 17 years on the show. How do you not run? Because now you're on for 3 hours. The happening's on for 2 hours. Correct? Is that how it
I'm
works
with
now?
Pete in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes, in the 8 o'clock hour. Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm running late or whatever, if I just don't want to do that first hour, I've got my standby, my trusted assistant, Reanna Stockdale, who's
step
been
in
with
for
us
you.
for 25 years.
She's been there a long time.
Yeah, she's a pro.
She really is.
She is.
She's great on the radio, too.
Yeah,
She is.
she's got a great radio voice.
Yeah, she's got a nice disposition, too. So that makes it, there's been days where, 8 o'clock,
I want to sleep in for once, right?
I text her, Reanna, can you cover for me? And she's good. Or I'm running late or whatever. But it is so much fun working with Pete Sargent. He has really evolved into quite a broadcaster over the years.
Yeah.
He truly is. Very intelligent.
He's
Very
the leader of
intelligent.
WLIP.
He's the program
Yeah, he's
director
great.
now. He really is.
Because you used to be on the afternoons. That'd be nice. You came on at 1 or so and then moved up to noon.
Right. They moved us around in the length. I mean, initially, for a very short period of time, we were just 1 hour when we started.
Okay.
And remember, they said, hey, come on, it's an hour. You can do an hour. And then it was 2, and then it was 3, and then we moved to the mornings.
Soon it'll be 4, 5.
No. But it's, it is fun doing that first hour with Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is extremely topical, and I don't have to do any heavy lifting at all. I'm just the sidekick
You're
on
just
it.
there.
Very smart, too. Very intelligent.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
He knows what he's talking about. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But over the years, you've had many different, big-time guests on your show.
Yes.
Some good, some not so good.
When we first launched, it was difficult to get, guests outside of the area, and Jackie Gray was our booker, and she did an exceptional job. I mean, I would say the first 8-9 years, we had somebody on the staff just to book the show.
Yeah, that's right. Making phone calls, emails all day long.
Right. So.
And I was like, nothing. No, I keep going. Yeah, I remember. That was.
I heard you had Bo Jackson on the show.
Oh, yes. Yeah, remember the Bo Jackson story? I wanted to. I don't think Jason's heard this one. This one's good.
Yeah. That was kind of different, wasn't it? Yes. Bo Jackson. There was a dodgeball fundraiser here, and Bo was coming in. And I'm trying to remember who. Trey Waynes, is that the football player?
For the Vikings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was his dad that was in the studio. And Gordon, what was it his mother? Melvin Gordon.
Melvin.
I can't remember if it was his aunt.
I think it was his aunt.
Yeah, they were spearheading this fundraiser. So we had Bo on the phone. He was coming up, but in the course of the interview, it's like, well, you're going to be here, Bo, at the... What? I can't give you that many hours.
On the air?
On the air. On the air. And then it's like, well, there's kind of this pushback between the two sides.
Negotiations kind of thing?
Well, it's like, well, my assistant didn't tell me that. I've got, and then he says, I have another commitment, an appearance in Chicago. And so then I chirped in and I said, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Now, when is this? When do you need them in Kenosha? And then it was, Bo, when do you have to be in Chicago? What's the latest? Well, I guess I could, if I get here, if I'm in Chicago by 8. And, and I said, well, okay, you can bring a change of clothes, right? Because this was kind of a suit and tie type event. Mm-hmm. And he says, yeah. And I said, well, what if we helicopter you from Kenosha to Chicago? And he said, yeah, that'll work. We had no helicopter.
Then Frank was hired as his agent.
Yeah. It was kind of surreal.
So how'd you get in Chicago?
I don't know. We didn't get him. I just threw that out there. There was no helicopter. Yes. But it was kind of an interesting conversation, too, because he said, He was. I'm trying to remember what was he had like these training facilities, or I can't remember what it was. But he said, you don't get rich doing this, and people think that everything I do makes money, and it doesn't. And it was actually a pretty good interview.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that. Once we got through, trying to sort out what his commitment was to his appearance here. Been a lot of memorable people though, over the years.
You've had a lot.
Yeah, Larry Hagman was great. He was really a good interview.
Have you established any kind of sort of friendships with some of these celebrities over the years?
Some of them, yes. Yeah, Mike Starr. I like Mike. Mike
Starr, yeah.
Yeah,
Goodfellas, right? Goodfellas. Was he in Goodfellas? Which one was he in?
He was in Dumb and Dumber.
He was one of the gangster movies.
Yeah, he was in Goodfellas, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
He was, I don't know, did you ever see that Whitney Houston film, Bodyguard?
Oh, yeah.
He was the thuggish bodyguard that Kevin Costner replaced.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. The good guy, huh?
And he told me that that Kevin told him, don't worry, take this role. By the end of the movie, the audience will like you.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, no, Mike's a great guy. He really is.
Great.
He's been in so many movies and TV shows. I'll never forget, do you remember Chicago Fire when that first started? There were two young guys that created that show for what's his name? Dick Wolf?
Okay.
They were the writers, they were the producers, they were under the Dick Wolf umbrella, and we had them on the show. And I remember the first time we had them on, I remember asking them. I said, "Well, when is it golden? How many episodes? And then you don't really have to worry about working much." And they said 100 episodes. I remember that.
Okay.
But Mike Starr did a 5-episode arc on that show, and I guess I kind of went a little heavy because when they were on our show again the next time, I was really talking up Mike Starr. I said, you should, you should make him a regular in the show. And one of them said, Frank, he's dead. He's.
Oh, the character.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're a couple
or something.
A couple of sharp guys, But Olympia, Olympia Dukakis, she was a sweetheart. And I asked her, there was a movie with Haley Joel Osment. I said, Olympia, when is that movie coming out? I know it was done a year and a half ago. It's in the can. And she said, well, Frank, we're having trouble getting a distributor for it. And there was a pause, and then she said, well, Frank, would you help me with that? And I said, Olympia, I'm in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I don't think I can do much for you. Yeah.
All right, Frank. New Year's Eve, 2017. Remember that? You opened the Kenosha Comedy Club inside the Wyndham Garden Hotel.
Right. Yeah, I thought maybe you knew something salacious.
According to the police report on that day.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to bring comedy to Kenosha?
Well, you'd have to back up a little bit. We were already doing a comedy on occasion out at the Parkway Chateau at the Broadstone.
Yes.
Comedy buffet, all you can eat, all you can laugh.
Oh, yeah.
And after we had a couple of those, I knew that there was, I wanted to do a comedy club, but at that point I didn't have a venue. Mm-hmm. But we were at an event at the Wyndham. It was when we were doing Tribute Island, maybe. I think it was Tribute Island, and tourism gave us presented us with one of those big overgrown checks. I'm pretty sure this is when
I see
happened.
so many of those in the closet.
I bet you do. Well, this one was for $39,000.
Not that big.
Yeah. All we had to do was spend all that marketing money in Illinois. But Kim met the new owner, and a lot of times, when we go, we'll go to an event, we'll split up, and we can cover more territory. And then it was like, oh, where's Kim? And somebody said, oh, she went with the owner to the hotel rooms. And to show. Excuse me. So they came back, And she introduced me, and we hit it off right away. And later on, I realized he figured anybody that could hoodwink 39,000 out of the state of Wisconsin,
Somebody wants to work with.
But really, all that credit goes to Dennis Duchesne. Yeah, Dennis is a miracle worker. He's the one that orchestrated all of that. He's a visionary.
Yeah,
he
that
really
was for
is.
the first tribute island.
Yes,
That was on the island.
And we can look at where the tickets are purchased with our ticketing service. And a good 40-some% come from Illinois.
For the comedy club?
No, for Tribute Island.
Okay, Tribute Island.
Yeah, that's what we got the check for.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Well, that's a big event for 3 days of music.
Yeah, Tribute Island is amazing. It's probably the biggest event that you guys put together
for
over
us.
there. Happenings.
It's very labor intensive.
And it's coming up again this year, correct?
Yes.
And that is, when is that? When is that, you guys?
4th, 5th, and 6th?
I think it's the
first full weekend in August.
Yeah, I think it might be, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I don't know.
Maybe,
first weekend of August.
that first weekend of August.
It'll be in the show notes.
Oh, yeah. It'll just pop right in down there.
But going back to the comedy club, you were inspired by these comics you were putting on at the Brat Stop with buffets and all that, and then you met Rajiv. And then you kind of just talked to him. And
we forged a partnership, yes. And that's been a great partnership. 8 years, never one misunderstanding between us. So it's good.
Yeah, and
I owe a lot of that to Kim.
Yeah, you guys make a great team. You really do. You both do. And the comedy club has come so far. I mean, Frank, I tell you the story all the time. When you first told me, I'm going to do a comedy club. We're going to have shows Friday and Saturday. And I think you're doing 2 shows each night.
No, we were doing 2 shows on Saturday.
Yes. I say, you're crazy. You're crazy. But you're always right.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
80%.
I'm so glad you didn't mention the failures that I've had. You left a lot out.
We have a lot to cover,
as in depth that you have been, there's a lot of failures
there's
there.
some things we weren't here to bring up.
But that comes with lessons learned, right?
Yes.
Well, yes. Mark Cuban once said, you only have to be right once. And Babe Ruth said, it's hard to defeat a man that never gives up.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
So your roster at the Comedy Club keeps on getting better and better every year, it seems like. You're getting these big names coming in.
Yeah, it's getting easier and easier, and that's because of our audience. We've developed this reputation, and that we truly do have some of the best audiences in the country. And I've heard this so many times from the comedians. I heard it from Stephen Michael Casada this weekend. They all want to come back.
So who is your over-the-top, no way will ever happen, unrealistic dream headliner?
Can I hear that question again? It's pretty... it's a mouthful. Yeah. What was it?
The over-the-top, no way will ever happen, unrealistic dream headliner.
I think Jerry Seinfeld or Jay Leno.
Wow.
I would really like to have Jay Leno.
Yeah,
but it'll never happen.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd have the people you have now coming?
Well,
back in 2017?
you know what? No, I never thought about that. I guess.
So you never know. You never know.
Yeah. I'm excited. We have some big people coming. I just can't say because we haven't signed contracts.
Dang it.
I heard Carlos Mencina, I heard, is coming. Is that?
Yes, Carlos. Yeah.
Wow.
That we just started selling tickets Friday. We haven't done any promotion or anything, and it's already.
Pauly Shore coming?
Yeah, Paulie's gonna. It's
In the works, maybe.
Yeah, well,
can't we take?
When Kim and I were in New York, his agent took us to see him perform.
Oh,
and boy, they start shows late there. Their second show was like at 11 o'clock at night. We had gone out for a big meal with his agent, and I fell asleep.
Big meal that late? Oh, I would be passed out. Ooh.
I know. I don't know about you, but I get sleepy after eating a big meal, especially that late at night.
Yeah. I can't handle that anymore. I'm in bed by 9 o'clock.
Well, I think COVID had a lot to do with that, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. People.
I mean, the streets are quiet at night now, later at night.
Mm-hmm.
People's habits have changed. Mm-hmm. We did away with the 9 o'clock, went to an 8 o'clock show.
Yeah.
So, Frank, in Kenosha, we have a lot of great young people who are carrying the torch that you pretty much lit, and they're getting these new events organized in Kenosha.
Look at what Kelly's doing. Kelly McKay.
Yeah.
Is it not White Lotus? That's the TV show.
White Lilac.
White Lilac.
Yeah, White Lilac.
Yeah. But then, like, our...
Bryce?
Yes,
Bryce at the Love Your Community
Yeah, you've
event,
done some great
the
stuff,
Beachfront Art Fest.
Yeah, there is so many things that
There's so many events nowadays.
and I encounter people from Illinois. They're just blown away. They just keep coming back for more and more of it.
So, Frank, what advice would you give for these young people who are looking to get more great things happening in Kenosha?
Oh, that's a good question.
Only the best on Ktown Connects.
Yes. I guess. Well, I wouldn't want to start with a negative, but if that first one doesn't go like they had hoped, don't give up. I mean, you learn from mistakes, and there are, sometimes, especially with outdoor events, there's so much beyond your control. All the planning in the world could go into it. You could have done everything, crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and then the weather is lousy.
Yeah.
I just hope that if they encounter one of those, they come back and try it again, because, the weather might be nicer, unless it's the same weekend as Country Thunder.
Right, then you're cursed. Frank, some of the people in the town, some of your critics, they say that you don't book local bands. What do you say to them?
Well, I do book more local bands than I used to, and the only thing that I don't book local bands at is PB&J. I mean, if you look at Cheese-A-Palooza or Celebrate America, there's been more and more local bands for that.
Yep.
And I would book local bands for Tribute Island if we had some true tribute artists, in a heartbeat. Well, in fact, like I used Yesterday's Children because they'll do all BS&T in Chicago for the show. It's just, a lot of these local acts have good followings, but PB&J, we're trying to get 2,000, 2,500 people, and it's hard for a local band to do that if 2 weeks earlier they were playing somewhere else.
Yep.
It's just...
Yep, you can go see them every other week for free.
My favorite bands, I'm not going to see you like every month. Right. Even though I love you guys, I'm not going to see you every month.
Right. Well, there's you get fan fatigue.
Yeah, definitely.
Is what happens. It's...
So, Frank, in all of your ventures, you brought hundreds, if not thousands, of performers to Kenosha. Is there any one show you recall as being the most memorable, good or bad?
Oh, I think there's a number of them. Charlie Barron's Manitowoc Minute.
Oh yeah,
at the Ruther Auditorium. We did him twice there. Charlie was so nice. One Saturday afternoon, he called bingo at the Wyndham.
Oh, yes. I was there. I called bingo there, too.
Yeah. I would say John Oates.
Oh.
John Oates, yeah.
John Oates.
At Ruther, right?
Yeah. He really related to the audience to the point where he asked the stagehand to turn the house lights up because he wanted to see everybody as he performed that night. That was a real memorable show.
Yeah.
Okay. What is her name? Molly Ringwald.
Oh, yeah.
Also at Ruther, correct?
Molly. I'll never forget when I booked Molly. It was, I got 25 meet and greets that came at the package. And she wasn't cheap, okay? And so we sold those instantly. Now, what was Molly going to do? She, believe it or not, she's a great jazz singer. She really is. Her father, I think, was a blind jazz pianist. You could probably look that up. You've looked up everything else. And I remember calling the agent back, and I said, I need more meet and greets. And he said, I really shouldn't do this, but all right, I'll give you 25 more. But she doesn't sign memorabilia. All she'll sign is her new CD.
Oh.
So we sold those right away, but the other ticket sales were lagging, just the regular tickets, the meet and greets. Everybody wanted to meet Molly.
Wow.
Okay. So I called back again, and her agent was in Europe. I talked to somebody else, and I said, I need more meet and greets. And he said, how many? I said, another 125. And he said, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Now I'm figuring out at that point, the janitor picked up the phone, but I said, you know what? Can you just send me an email to that effect?
Yeah.
All right. So Molly's coming in. She comes in, and I picked her up at the DoubleTree. I think it was the Radisson at the time. The band was staying at the Wyndham, but she wanted to stay out there. So I went and picked her up for the show, and she had this little box. And I said, Molly, the CDs, we don't have them. Where are they? And she looked down and she said, this is it. She had played at the Pheasant Run just the night before.
Yeah, okay.
And she didn't have that many to start with there. So she had 23 CDs. Now, bear in mind, we were selling CDs was part of the meet and greet, so she could sign it. And I said, well, Molly, this is going to be problematic, because your meet and greets all are, that was the part of the deal. You're not you're not signing memorabilia.
Yeah.
And so she thought she was short,
100 CDs.
20 some.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took her into the little gym or the cafeteria or whatever they use at Ruther.
Oh yeah.
Do you know which room I'm talking about? And she looked at that line. She looked at me. She looked at that long line again, and she looked at me and she said, Frank, you are kidding me. I said, no, Molly, this is, this is, I have an email if, so if looks could kill. But you know what? She sucked it up. She was gracious to every person, signed all this silly memorabilia and everything. She's a true professional.
Oh, cool.
She really is. And then afterwards, we kind of joked about it and everything. But yeah, just a wonderful person to work with. She really turned out to be a good sport. She turned out to be a good sport.
Well, it's going to be nice to have that many fans show up for something, But it might better have too many than too little.
Yeah, ticket sales kicked in.
Yeah,
Things got much better, yeah.
But even that for the meet and greet kind of thing.
But there was, I read a review in the Tribune. I can't remember what the Tribune Arts, was it Rich or Reich or their writer, their critic. And he was not real fair to her. I think she brought in all L.A. musicians were traveling with her, and they were really good, too. Really good. And she put on a great show. She really did.
All right, Frank, what do you say to people nowadays that say print is dead? What is your response to them?
Well, isn't vinyl dead? Oh, no.
I like that.
Who are the country artists that just bought Field and Stream? And guess what they're doing? They're bringing back, it's been a 6-year hiatus, but they're bringing back the printed magazine. I think print will never, ever be what it was, but I think there's room for print.
I agree.
So I studied up for it. When television came along, they said radio would die. And then by then I had graduated. HBO came. I remember. There was on the marquee, and I went into Daryl's office to empty the wastebasket, and I said, Daryl, you don't look too happy. Cable and HBO. And he said, well, I don't have any everything. It reassembles, things realign, and everybody finds their spot.
It's kind of funny because when you bring that up, when I was doing some research on you, there were some stories from back in the day where it was the theater business. These movie rental stores are coming up. They're killing us. It's almost full circle in a way with things like that. But theaters are still around.
They are, but they're not what they were.
Right. But they're not gone.
No, they're not gone. But there's only 24 hours in a day, and there's just so many things vying for that time. Our daughter, Brooke, I probably could count on one hand the number of movies she's seen since she went away to college. With TikTok and everything else. It's just not. When I was growing up, when I was her age, or high school age,
There was a few options. Now there's a million options.
You know, kids went to the movies just about every weekend. It was a date out. You know, so, but theaters will always they just won't be. They'll always be there, but not in the form and not in the quantity that we have right now.
True.
I think there'll be a shakeout because you have streaming. You have so many options.
All right, Frank, with everything you've accomplished, everything in almost 50 years in the business, or in your whole life, what is left for Frank Carmichael to do?
I have something, a project that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I think it's my swan song. I really want to see this happen. I know we didn't touch on it, but you know, I've produced a couple different TV shows.
Yes, the Bozo show?
Yeah, Bozo's Breakfast Club. We did that for a year on Channel 24, and then I had Take Two.
Yes.
That was syndicated for a year.
Gary was involved with that as well? Yes,
yeah,
good old Gary.
Oh, yes. Sadly, our co-host initially was Bobby. Yeah, Bobby Rivers, and he just passed this last year. But he started with us, and then he went to VH1 and became one of the VJs there. But I got one TV show in me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right, so that's what could be next. All right, I like that.
Well,
all right.
But I haven't talked to Kim about it yet.
Well.
So, yeah, that would, the only way I do it is with her blessings.
Of course. All right, last question for you, Frank. How would you like your legacy to be remembered by Kenosha?
Oh, I think I have no control over that. It is what it is. I mean, people will have different opinions of me, and I'm sure whatever those opinions are, they're probably right. You have people that like you, and you have detractors, and I mean, I don't know. Once I'm gone, does it matter? Seriously, really?
Sure. Yeah,
that's true.
I think about our daughter, and at the end of the day, really, that's my legacy. That's our legacy, and I have hopes for her that she'll be a very productive citizen, and she'll give more than she takes. And
does she have any interest in taking over Happenings magazine?
None, absolutely. She is in Madison. She's now going to be beginning her senior year, and her major is broadcast journalism. Okay. So
she has that from you then, huh?
Well, no, because she's aspiring for television.
Well, but still that kind of...
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Same kind of field, yeah.
Yes, but no, she... I remember one day, she grew up around the dining room table listening to Mom and Dad. But I remember one day I said, Brooke, if there's some interest, maybe someday this could be yours. And she looked at me like I was dumber than a box of rocks. And she said, Dad, why would I want to work that hard?
Beep, beep!
Looking for a reliable ride? Carbox, owned by Scott Dooley, has you covered with locations in Kenosha and Racine.
Carbox offers quality used cars at a great price, making car buying easy and stress-free.
Stop on by 1750 22nd Avenue in Kenosha or 3317 Durand Ave in Racine and browse their inventory online at carboxwi.com.
Carbox, driving you to your next adventure. Beep, beep!
Looking for a spot with great drinks, good company, and a welcoming atmosphere? Look no farther than Lucci's Grandview, located at 6929 39th Avenue. It's the place to be.
This family-owned neighborhood bar is perfect for catching up with friends, unwinding after a long day. There is always something happening at Lucci's Grandview.
Stay up to date on specials and events by following Lucci's Grandview on Facebook.
Discover Kenosha's premier performance space, the White Lilac, located in downtown Kenosha at 5029 6th Avenue.
Experience intimate shows featuring top-tier musicians, performers in a high-quality setting. For event details and tickets, visit whitelilackenosha.com.
The White Lilac, where unforgettable performances await.
What time is it now, Donnie?
Oh, it's time for our Kenosha Connects.
And that's brought to you this week by Dickhouse Czak Tile. If you're looking to upgrade your floors or remodel your space, visit Dickhouse Czak Tile Company and Carpet One at 6403 75th Street. They specialize in tile, flooring, and home renovations, offering expert design and installation services.
Visit dicklczak.com or call 262-694-9777 for a free estimate today. Dick Czak Tile and Company, where your home makeover begins.
That's right, Donnie. So, Frank, you ready for these Kenosha Connects?
These are fun, Frank.
All right.
All right, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Frank, who is your favorite famous Kenoshan, living or dead?
Is there a timer on this? Do we have a sand timer? I mean, you know what? You hate to come up with an answer because there's, after I give you the answer, then it's going to be,
think of a million more.
Yeah, a million more.
That
Yeah.
guy?
Oh, boy. Famous Kenoshan?
Yep, your favorite one.
Favorite famous Kenoshan or just favorite Kenoshan?
Oh. Well, I guess it's your opinion of famous.
Okay. Oh.
I mean, some could say Mike Bjorn.
Yeah, Mike was great.
Yeah,
Mike was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
On the, Mike and Judy Bjorn, they knew that we were going to have a baby before our parents knew.
Oh, wow.
We were
Really?
Yeah, we went down to New Orleans with them, the four of us, and we're knocking down hurricanes, and and Kim is drinking seltzer, and so then Mike said, "Come on."
Okay.
Yeah,
They put two and two together there.
Well, then Kim said, that's I miss Mike. I truly do.
The world was a much better place with him in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He kept Kenosha interesting.
he really did.
What's the next question?
All right. When was the last time you put your feet in Lake Michigan?
Oh, Lord. Kim loves to go down to Simmons.
Yeah?
Yeah, she'll go down by herself because I don't do it that often.
No?
Yeah, no. I would say it was maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
More
it was,
recent than
yeah.
some, yeah.
Yeah, Kim loves it down there.
It's beautiful down there.
We are so blessed. Seriously.
We really are.
Our city fathers, the movers and shakers of old, think about it. I mean, how much, most communities along this shoreline, they're mansions and what have you.
Yeah,
Look how much of that public lakefront is accessible to
There's
us.
parks and stuff. Yeah, it's beautiful down
I mean,
there.
even Simmons Island there used to be houses on that, but...
The old poorhouses on there back in the day. That's where they
Really?
put the poor people. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Believe that? Give them that spot? Jeez. All right. What was the last great meal you had in Kenosha?
The last great meal.
Dining out, yeah.
You know what? The last great meal I had was just the other day. Have you tried the ribs over at Finn and Ale?
I've not had those yet, no.
Yeah, they're marinated the night before, and then they're smoked.
Oh,
They are good. They really are.
Wow.
Just had, in fact, Stephen Michael Casada, we had lunch there. Our headliner this past
the
weekend.
Breaking Bad guy, yeah.
Yes, yeah. He was Gomi in Breaking Bad. He was raving about them.
Oh, wow,
They're
nice.
really good. They really are. I mean, you wouldn't think, two of my favorite things at Finn and Ale are the ribs. They're number one. And then, believe it, they have great pizza there.
Really?
Frank, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think their pizza is fantastic.
Yeah, but would you expect it out of a place where people go for seafood?
I know, when I tell people to try their pizza, what are you talking about? And I said, you got to try it. It is amazing.
But that was my last great meal. Saturday we had lunch with Stephen.
Well, Jim knows how, over at the Finn and Ale, Jim Matzer, former owner of the Boathouse, he knows how to smoke a meat.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Whew, good stuff, so.
All right, Frank, where in Kenosha would you recommend someone going on a first date?
Get a room at the Wyndham.
All right. Kenosha Comedy Club, and then get a room at the Wyndham. I like that.
What? No, I meant the comedy club room. Come on, stop it.
All right, what is one thing you wish you could change about Kenosha?
What could I change about Kenosha? I mean, I can think of so many, I sound like a homer now. And I wasn't always a homer. I mean, when I had the Capitol Theater in Racine, I almost moved there. I almost bought a house down close to the lake there.
Oh.
And because back then, it was, Kenosha wasn't that nice.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Racine was far more desirable.
Yeah.
And then they flipped. Over the years, I mean, the two communities have completely flipped. I mean, you're going to want to live in Kenosha over Racine.
Duh.
Yeah. So, what is it? Can I have that question one more time? I kind of wander.
What is one thing you wish you could change about Kenosha?
This sounds so trivial, but it's like top of mind awareness right now. If I could, I would somehow try and convince people to stop blowing the red lights.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
A lot of that's going on. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yes. I mean, and I was almost T-boned about 4 months ago. You know what? I mean, now, I used to just blindly go when the light changed green.
Mm-hmm.
And
You gotta always look.
Now you have to look.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been doing this with the stopwatch on my phone. Just out of curiosity, there's the intersection, for instance, on 80th and Sheridan Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're heading north on Sheridan Road. It goes red, all right? So you could blow that red light, or you could wait the 15 seconds for the light to change back again
15
green.
seconds.
That's it, yeah. I mean, it's amazing how short these lights are. I mean, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to get a ticket or God forbid,
Or hurt someone.
Yeah.
All right, what is something about Kenosha that you would want new residents to know?
Well, let's see.
There's a Kenosha Comedy Club downtown.
Yes. Things I want them to know.
Are you amazed that some people don't know that you even exist down there?
It is surprising. This wasn't last year. It was a year before. This couple came up, good-looking couple, and started saying how much fun they were having at the at PB&J. And they were asking me questions about it and how long has this been here, blah, blah, blah. And I just assumed that they lived somewhere down in Illinois.
Yeah.
No, they had lived in Strawberry Creek for 4 years or 5 years and just ventured down for the first time. I mean, there seems to be like an imaginary border.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it's Green Bay Road or I-94. I think Green Bay Road is kind of,
Yeah, I agree.
where if you live west of that, there's a lot of people, there's probably no reason, if they don't want to enjoy a beautiful lakefront, they can do all their shopping.
Yeah.
They don't have to come all the way into town, but they're missing a lot if they don't.
They're missing a whole lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Which now closed Kenosha business do you wish you could bring back?
These are good questions.
Oh, thanks.
Did you send these? Should I have thought about these in advance?
No, we want your...
Okay.
we want
Check
your
the spot.
All right, so... Roosevelt Mini Golf.
Oh, is that in the basement of the theater?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Choo Choo Charlie's.
Oh, we were going to go the whole show without mentioning it, Frank.
I'm kidding. Why would you do that? I think it's more interesting if people know about the blunders as well. You're being too kind to me.
Well,
You
we
really
love you,
are.
Frank. That's why.
You really are. I don't know. There's just, there's so many things that no longer are here, are there? I'll tell you the next show.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a little time. What is yours, Donnie?
Mine's the Keno Drive-In.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some past ones are like Cheryl's Drive-Ins. People said that.
I think that's coming back.
That's what we hear.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Have you heard who bought it?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, okay.
I told you, right?
You didn't say who bought it.
Oh, I didn't? Oh.
Who
well,
bought it, Louis?
I'll tell you once we're done recording.
Okay.
You already said that's coming back.
Yeah, I know.
You said
But,
last episode.
yeah, well.
Coffee Pot Girls?
No. Close.
What's the latest on that?
They're saying,
Fall.
yeah. A lot
They
more.
haven't done any work over there at all. So.
They just, they
It's gutted.
gutted, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
They're down to studs, right?
Pretty much. There's still a hole in the roof, too.
Really?
So, yeah, they needs a whole new... It's a lot. But they said they're coming back, so we'll see.
They are. They're coming back.
They're two very dynamic ladies. They truly are.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable where that was and where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess. Well, how about the mall?
The old outlet mall?
No.
Or the Southport Mall downtown?
Market Square Mall.
No, the downtown.
Yeah, the downtown mall.
Somebody thought that was a good idea.
Somebody, yeah.
Somebody did. I don't. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to think of something as far as recreational.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a little kid, I liked to go to Red's roller rink.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But you grow out of that.
But still, those are good for the community, though. Having those things
Yes.
like the things we had, like the roller rinks, the arcades, the movie theaters. Things.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
you need a ride out to Green Bay Road if you want to go see a movie. You can't just walk to the local theater like you could.
Yeah, but really, when you live in Kenosha, really, are you much more than 15 minutes away from anything?
True.
If you have a car, I mean, it's
Not for like the younger people, the teenagers, things like that, to get out and do something other than sit at home on their phone. There's not many options for them anymore. Like the library, the teen club that you had back in the.
that is a good question, though. That is a really good question. What would I like to see come back? And the Keno, I have some I have fond memories of the Mid City
Oh yeah.
drive-in.
If they just wouldn't have tore that down, they would have been done great during COVID. They could have somehow brought that back.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't tear it down.
Yep.
They could have done anything there, and people would have showed up.
But that was poised for development.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was going to be a what is the lesser version of the Walmart? I think that was supposed to...
Like a grocery Walmart kind of thing, something like that was supposed to go there.
What they call it, so...
Yeah. Nothing ever happened.
It's not there yet?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
Oh. All right, Frank, last one in this segment. Big Star or the Spot? The big Kenosha debate.
I know, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yes. I had a conversation with a very, very, actually very vivacious lady. Her name is Kat. Do you know her?
Kat,
yes. She owns
Did she do women's lip off on WLIP?
No, this is the Kat that has the Spot driving.
Oh.
Yeah, her family, yes. She grew up on the north side. Guess where she went all the time?
The Spot.
No, the Big Star.
Big
She
Star.
was a
Oh, yeah.
north side girl. Yes. I had to ask her, which is your favorite?
So we're asking you, though.
I don't know if I should say. Yeah. She really is. She's a great... You should get her on. She would be good.
That would be a good one.
I think she would be good.
He's still evading the question.
Yeah, he's good. Well, they both advertise with them.
Yeah.
Well, I think Big Star advertised with them more, but he grew up on the side of town with the Spot.
Okay.
I did grow
So
up...
we can put two together there.
On this. Have you ever heard of Little Ed and the Blues Imperials?
Yes.
Yeah, Little Ed. And Little Ed, that's part of his pilgrimage up here every year. He's got to go to the Spot.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Is he coming back for PB&J this year?
Is the Pope Catholic?
All right.
No.
He's American, right? From Chicago.
Yes.
All
Who
right.
knows? Maybe he went to the Spot when he was a kid.
Yeah, you never
I don't
know.
All right, Donnie, that was our Kenosha Connects brought to you by Dick House, CZAC Tile, and Carpet One. And what time is it now?
Ding, ding, ding. It's trivia time. And trivia is brought to you by the Lettering Machine. This locally owned business is Kenosha's go-to apparel store for your company, for your event. You can get anything you need. They specialize in custom shirts, hats, tote bags, and more. They can make your vision a reality.
If you're looking to support Kenosha businesses, go to their website and check out their retail shop, where they provide amazing apparel celebrating hundreds of Kenosha institutions, schools, businesses, media influencers, sports teams, podcasts, and so much more. Visit thelettermachine.com for details or stop in their shop at 725 50th Street in downtown Kenosha.
Hi, Tina and Dave. We love you. All right, Frank.
I've known Dave since he was just a teenager. Mm-hmm. He used to be the deckhand for Ted Nelson for fishing charters.
Oh.
He's a great guy over there.
Yeah, he was. I think he might have been all of 15 at the time.
Wow. Yeah, Dave's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our trivia segment today, Donnie's going to take on our guest in this 100% legitimate, definitely not skewered, on the level, totally fair trivia game. These questions are completely random and not catered to the guest one bit. So I get out my randomizer here and... Ding! See, the random subject is movie trivia.
Oh, great.
So I have 3 questions for each of you. Frank, would you like to go first? Or would you like to have Donnie go first?
Donnie can go first.
All right, Donnie.
It's your show.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it.
Donnie, here is your first question. In the 2001 comedy Legally Blonde, see that one?
Maybe once.
Okay, so you know this.
Yeah.
What score did Ellie Woods get on her LSAT? I need an answer.
88.2.
Wait,
You guys suck!
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It's 179.
Okay.
Now, is that? It seems like a very obscure question for me. Is that only because I didn't see the movie?
No, these are not,
okay.
That's totally fair.
Just for
trivia.
me. That was just
Okay.
for you.
That was Frank. That was Donnie's question. Frank, here's your question. Frank, which 1976 film starring Sissy Spacek was the first film to be adapted from a Stephen King novel?
That would be Carrie.
Yay!
You got that. All right.
That was easy. Donnie, poor Donnie should have
See,
grabbed
now
that one.
you know how this works now.
Now I
Okay.
know it, yes. Yeah.
Donnie?
But I'd never seen Legally Blonde, so.
Donnie, 8 films were produced in the Harry Potter film series. You've seen them all, right?
Yeah, we talk about this on every couple episodes. I've never
See,
seen any of them.
I've never seen
I've
any
never
of them
seen any of
either.
them. Or
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Well, Donnie, this isn't about this movie, so I don't need to know this. But
Okay.
which one had the best performance at the box office? I need the correct title.
Are you giving are you shoveling
hold
the
on.
difficult ones to Donnie?
This is
here?
totally fair.
Harry
Not
Potter
scared.
and the oh my god, Sorcerer's Stone, is that one of them?
You guys suck!
Well, I'm sorry, Donnie. That is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Okay.
So,
No,
Frank,
is Harry Potter, is that the one with the platform 9 3/4 or something? Or is that?
oh, that's how they get on the train. Yeah.
That draws a lot of people at the train station in London. We were there, and it's like, whoa, this is like they rope it off.
Oh,
and
wow,
process all these people,
Wow.
and
Neat.
yeah.
Neat. All right, Frank, here is your second question. When adjusted for inflation, what 1939 epic film remains the biggest box office film of all time?
Would that be Gone with the Wind?
Yay!
You got that. All right. You're
Well,
up.
that's so easy. Poor, I never realized that I would be feeling sorry for Donnie here.
No, don't feel sorry. These are totally
These are-
fair.
Oh, come on.
Totally
I
fair.
mean, that's
Totally fair. Donnie, the new Mission Impossible film is coming out soon.
Mission Impossible 9?
Well, it doesn't matter. But
No.
in what year did the very first film come out?
1997?
Oh, you're so close.
98? Was it 98?
No, it was 96. Sorry. So, Frank, you're killing them here in the trivia. We got one more question, see if you can wrap them all up.
lobbing it over the plate here.
True or false?
True or false?
Sean Connery wore a toupee in every James Bond movie.
I will go with true.
Yay!
You got that. 3-0 on our totally fair trivia game. Frank, you have won this. You win a Ktown Connects koozie, courtesy of the lettering
There
machine.
you go, Frank.
So,
Look at that.
I was hoping for the K-Town Connects podcast shirt.
Well, if you would have came out in season 2 or 3.
The one that Donnie is wearing.
So once again, if you want to see more about Frank, pick up a copy of the Happenings magazine. You're doing this page 3, like these little editorial pieces you've started doing recently,
Yeah,
last
I
year or
love
so.
those, by the way, Frank. I think they're great. I tell Jason that all the time.
He reads
You know
it every
what?
week.
Donnie is setting me up.
I am not.
Donnie, I feel like I'm being set up. You're not like selling insurance on the side.
I am not, Frank. I
You're
think
buttering me up.
I
here.
really do
Yeah.
like what
Well,
you're doing with that page 2 or page
well,
3 whenever
yeah.
you throw it in there. I think
Okay.
that's great.
I'm sure Jason does, and it comes in so late. Sorry, Jason. My apologies.
I tell Jason it's the way that you're connecting with Kenosha with that.
But yeah, pick up a copy of Happenings magazine. They'll have all the information about what's going on this summer, including PB&J, Tribute Island, Cheese-A-Palooza. Is that coming back? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
maybe, or yes,
Yes.
it is. Okay.
No, I was I was just thinking about Rainbow Gardens. I miss Rainbow Gardens. I'd like to see that come back.
Which place was that?
It was a miniature golf course on Sheridan Road across from Market Square.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
that
need more
was-
mini golf. I missed that.
They had this acreage in the back there, and we did an outdoor concert with these guys, Zager and Evans, there.
Sager and Evans.
In the year 25, when man is still alive.
Oh, they did that one, huh?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so it's haptoit.com. Check out.
No, can I change that?
Yeah, sure.
I
Wait,
I
the
have fond
website?
memories of Kittyland. when I was a little. There was a little amusement park on Sheridan Road called Kittyland.
Kittyland.
Yes,
Is that farther south?
that was right around where Rainbow Gardens was, right in that vicinity.
Okay.
They had all these little amusement rides for the kids.
Wow. About when did that close?
Oh, I got to believe that must have closed by 1959.
Oh,
maybe.
wow. So you were young then, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I wish we had more stuff like that. Like,
We don't have
You know,
anything nowadays.
Sheridan Road, when you think about it, there was a lot of entertainment on that road because you had the two outdoor drive-ins.
yeah.
Up on the north side by the Midway, or Mid-City, there was, remember the go-kart track up there?
Oh, yeah.
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 There were a lot of things, and there used to be an outdoor roller rink over kind of in the vicinity of Simmons Plaza there.
What was like the original
It was
thoroughfare between
under-
Racine and
Yeah, it was
Kenosha
under a
and
tent,
Illinois,
the
yeah.
roller rink. It was seasonal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then you can find out about all those future events at haptoit.com. Comedy Club, tons of great performance coming up this summer.
Yep. Pick up Happenings Magazine every week to find out all the great information that Frank Carmichael and Happenings Magazine are putting together this wonderful summer and beyond.
The Lakeside Deck at the Wyndham Garden is opening soon. You can sit right there, have a drink right
enjoy
over the
that.
harbor. Good
there's
times
just
there.
So much great stuff that you guys are doing over there at
So-
Happenings Magazine.
And hey there, all you listeners, don't forget to follow the Ktown Connects podcast on all the social media outlets and give us a 5-star and help us spread the word about the hottest podcast in town, the Ktown Connects podcast.
Yes.
So, Frank, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Appreciate
thank
it
you.
so
I really
much.
appreciate you
Yes.
giving your time for us.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
You're missing out
Truly
on a
did.
big party with the Visit Kenosha here, but
Hey, we're all missing out.
we're all
on it.
missing on that,
Well, what
but-
can you do? All right, want to thank our sponsors one last time.
including the law offices of Frank J. Parise,
Dick L. Cezak,
Shannon Franklin of Remax Elite,
Union Park Tavern,
Frank Steiner,
Casey Family Options Funerals and Cremations,
Aaron Hunzinger of AH Did It,
About Time Moving Systems,
The Lettering Machine,
Public Brewing Company,
the Port of Kenosha Beverage House,
The White Lilac,
Lucci's Grandview,
Solis and Company,
A Plus Mobility,
Alpaca Art,
Faded Barbershop for Men, new
Lakeshore-
location coming downtown.
Yeah, June 1st, new location. Congratulations, Boda and Trish.
Yeah.
Lakeshore Pedal Tour.
And Wink Beauty
Yes,
Boutique.
thank you all so much. We could not have done it without you. And you know what, Jason? And
What's that,
I
Donnie?
think I finally figured out what we're doing on the
Oh my
show
gosh.
since we talked to Frank, and he's been doing it for almost 50 years.
You think you finally figured it out?
Yep.
What is it? What are we
Frank
doing, Donnie?
Inspired.
Tell me, what are we doing?
Connecting Kenosha. How'd that go for you, Frank?
Good, good. Yeah, you did great.
I never realized that I would be feeling sorry for Donnie here.